Ibrox Stadium has been host to many footballers that have become legends of Rangers Football Club. Today, here at this iconic stadium, we will tell the story of one of our favourite sons, Davie Cooper, a legend of Clydebank, Motherwell, Rangers and of course Scotland. Today, we will tell his story.
Johnston, Gordon Smith, Cooper, left foot goal, a brilliant equaliser.
Not just as a footballer, but he became a right good friend of mine, my wife and his wife. A hero, worshipped him in terms of football. He made me a better player by just playing beside him, and he's just a hero to me as well.
Davie Cooper was born and raised in Hamilton and signed for his first professional football club in 1974 at the age of 18, when Clydebank paid him a £300 signing-on fee. He was immediately a first-team player and starred for the Bankies for 3 seasons, culminating in helping them win promotion to the Premier League in season 1976-77. Cooper came to the attention of Rangers in a famous series of fixtures against Clydebank in the 1976 League Cup, which saw 3 successive drawn matches before Rangers squeezed through 2-1 in the 4th game. Cooper scored in 2 of these games and tormented the famous and experienced Rangers defence. He was capped by Scotland at under-21 level while a Clydebank player and turned down the chance to sign for several big English clubs. But in June 1977, Jock Wallace agreed a £100,000 fee for him with Clydebank, and Cooper was delighted to move to his boyhood heroes. He had joined the club he loved. Rangers had won nothing the previous season, and Cooper, along with new signings Bobby Russell and Gordon Smith, were immediately regulars in the side.
Well, I didn't actually see him play before I met him for the first time. I went to train, reporting for training, but seen him at training, and you could see that massive ability he had. A lot of people say he had a lot of arrogance. It wasn't arrogance, it was more confidence in his ability.
Davie made his Ibrox debut against Southampton in the pre-season 10th Caledonian Cup on August 6, 1977, in a 3-1 victory. He scored direct from a free kick, and a new Ibrox hero was born. In his debut season, Cooper made 52 appearances as Rangers swept to their second treble under Jock Wallace in 3 seasons. The League Cup final was won in a 2-1 win over Celtic, with Cooper scoring the opening goal in his first major Hampden occasion. He would go on to score in many more. Aberdeen were defeated 2-1 in the Scottish Cup final, a match that marked the last ever Rangers appearance for the legendary captain John Greig. By the start of the following season, he would be Cooper's new manager.
In the early days under John Greig, the team weren't playing that well. I had just come in as a youngster and I witnessed it myself, the pressure that the players were under. So probably under John Greig, you probably weren't seeing the best of Davie Cooper. Jock, Jock's training methods were a bit different. I don't think Davie enjoyed them, but he knew he had to dig in and do his part if he was going to get into the first 11. But what he gave to Jock Wallace's side was what I just have said earlier. That it's that imagination, it's that flair, it's that cutting edge, it's that precision with the ball, set pieces, everything. He was just one of the guys that in a team full of talented players, he would stand out an absolute mile.
After Jock Wallace left the club in the summer of 1978, long-serving captain John Greig was given the job of Rangers manager. He inherited an ageing team of great experience, but struggled in the following 5 years to replace so many great players. Davie Cooper won 2 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups under Greig, but the team's inconsistency saw them fail to win any league titles, as both Aberdeen and Dundee United emerged with their best ever teams under their best ever managers. Cooper's form in those early 80s seasons was inconsistent too, not helped by a manager who regularly dropped him for big matches to play a more conservative and defensive game. But despite not enjoying his football as much as under Wallace, Davie Cooper still provided many memorable and trophy-winning moments. His 1979 Dryborough Cup final goal is widely regarded as one of the greatest ever scored in Rangers history.
McDonald certainly gave him the ball, but he didn't have much help after that. He was on his own. Look at the close attention. He keeps it. Cool head and away.
And he also played a huge part in defeating Dundee United in the Scottish Cup final and the League Cup final in 1981. In May, he tore United apart, scoring the opener and creating 2 more goals before half-time, as Rangers hammered United 4-1 in the last ever Scottish Cup final replay. Then, in October, his brilliant free-kick equaliser with just 15 minutes remaining was the spark Rangers needed to come back from behind and win 2-1. Rangers also enjoyed some notable European successes under Greig, the last of these being a fine win over the mighty Borussia Dortmund in 1982. Cooper gave a man-of-the-match display, scoring the opener before setting up the killer second goal for Derek Johnston. Cooper's moments of magic lit up many dull days, and he was by now the real hero of the Rangers' support. In the autumn of 1983, John Greig resigned and Jock Wallace returned to become the first man to manage Rangers twice. He immediately restored Cooper as an automatic choice, and his return coincided with a period of wonderful consistency by the winger. Rangers went on an unbeaten run at the end of 1983 and into the spring of 1984, with Cooper a massive reason why. His brilliance in the League Cup semi-final against Dundee United at Ibrox helped Rangers reach the final, where he won his 4th League Cup medal, when Celtic were beaten 3-2 thanks to an Ali McCoy's hat-trick. He then added a 5th later in the year, when starting in the 1-0 Hampden win over Dundee United. Cooper scored important goals against Celtic at Ibrox and Parkhead during Wallace's second spell, but the manager was unable to rediscover the success he had enjoyed first time around, and he left the club in April 1986. His departure saw the appointment of a new player-manager, a man who would both revolutionise Scottish football and also reignite the career of Davie Cooper.
The manager that got the best out of him was Graeme Souness. Unfortunately, it was a bit late in his career and he was already in his 30s by that time. But Souness built a spine in that Rangers team that allowed Cooper the solidity in the team that he could go and do what he wanted because the team was solid behind him. And he flourished, and some of his greatest moments were towards the end of his career under Graeme Souness.
Graeme Souness arrived as manager in May 1986 and spent big in the summer with the arrival of English internationals Chris Woods and Terry Butcher. But without doubt, the star of those early months under the former Scotland captain was Davie Cooper. By the end of November, he had provided the kind of magical memories that most players could never achieve in entire careers. The reverse pass to Ian Durrant in the first Old Firm game of the season. Amazing solo goals home and away against an excellent Hearts team. And some mesmerising trickery to give Robert Fleck a tap-in the UEFA Cup against Ile Tampere were just some of those memories. And of course, he scored the goal that brought the first trophy of the season to Ibrox. His late penalty winner against Celtic in the League Cup final was a moment many fans were too nervous to watch, but the coolest man in Hampden was the winger who sent goalkeeper Pat Bonner the wrong way. Cooper would then provide the cross that Terry Butcher headed home at Pittodrie on the day Rangers finally won the championship again for the first time in 9 long years, the only man left in the team from the 1978 triumph. And later that year, in another classic League Cup final, Cooper thundered an unstoppable free kick past Scotland and Aberdeen goalkeeper Jim Leighton, as Rangers retained the League Cup in a wonderful game that went to penalties. Now in his 30s, Cooper's appearances in the last 18 months of his Rangers career became more and more from the bench, with Souness bringing mercurial winger Mark Walters to the club at the start of 1988. But Davie still played his part in the 1988-89 title campaign, scoring his 76th and final Rangers goal in the 2-1 Ibrox win over St Mirren in the league in September 1988. He played his 541st and last game for the club, when coming on as a substitute in the Scottish Cup final against Celtic the following May, before ending his 12-year playing career at Ibrox in the summer when leaving to join Motherwell.
The Aberdeen won the free kick, which, oh my goodness, what a strike that was, absolutely brilliant. And there, me going to be a wee bit selfish again, Coop gave me my first League Cup medal when we get a penalty kick. I think it was about 3-4 minutes for the end of the game. I knew he was going to score as soon as he picked the ball up, because I'd seen him in training numerous times. Dead ball situations, he was absolutely top drawer. And I actually started walking back to the halfway line, and then I get told in no uncertain terms, you know, get round the box in case there's a rebound. But it's only one place it was going in the back of the net, and it was giving me my first League Cup medal. So that was a special moment, and I'll remember that forever, because I think every player remembers their first medal. So, and I thank Davie Cooper for that.
In 1988, Rangers awarded Davie Cooper a testimonial in recognition of his exceptional service to the club. Top French opposition was lined up for the game, with Bordeaux travelling to Ibrox in the summer of that year, with the match part of Graeme Souness' preparation for the new season. Rangers had ended the previous season poorly in third place in the table and watched Celtic lift the double, and some doubted whether the fans were in the mood to attend friendly matches in big numbers. But on August 9th, 1988, the Rangers fans showed what they thought of a man who had entertained them for over a decade. There wasn't an empty seat in the stadium, and thousands were locked outside, as Rangers honoured Cooper in a 3-1 win. Cooper was also presented with a specially commissioned painting, and his career celebrated at a testimonial dinner. Alan McCoy spoke at the dinner and revealed that the Rangers squad had found the perfect gift for their teammate.
We're sitting in the dressing room the other day, of course, all the lads, and we decided we have to get the man a gift, you know, Davie a gift. And we've been racking our brains for weeks. We're saying to ourselves, you know, what can we get this man? Because really, this man's got everything. I mean, Terry's scratching his head, Woodsy, none of the lads could decide. But then, we thought for weeks, and then we found that the one thing that Davie doesn't have, and I think we've got to hear from. And I don't know if we could, I'll hand it over to him here. Thanks, sir. No? I think he'll want to show it off to you.
What I've always wanted
is
a right leg.
For a player of his incredible ability, Davie Cooper's total of 22 caps for Scotland seems far too few. Without doubt, his inconsistency in the early 80s in a struggling Rangers team was a factor, but when he did play for his country, he made a real difference. In 1985, he scored the late penalty kick against Wales that won Scotland a playoff place in the qualification for the Mexico World Cup. It was a night, of course, forever marred by the death of Scotland manager Jock. Alec Ferguson took charge for the playoff, and it was Davie Cooper who opened the scoring in the first leg at Hampden against Australia with a trademark free kick. Without the dead ball brilliance and ice-cool temperament of Davie Cooper, Scotland would never have qualified. Davie Cooper was signed for Motherwell for the bargain fee of £50,000 in 1989. The Rangers manager Graeme Souness reluctantly allowing the player to leave, so he could be guaranteed first-team football. Cooper was in familiar company at his new club, with the management team of Tommy McLean and Tom Forsyth, as well as midfield maestro Bobby Russell, all former Ibrox teammates. He would enjoy a glorious Indian summer at Fir Park, earning a recall to the Scotland squad with a series of brilliant displays, and he would also win a fourth Scottish Cup of his career in 1991, when Motherwell beat Dundee United 4-3 in a classic Hampden final. Cooper would leave Motherwell in December 1993 at the age of 37 and return to his first club, Clydebank, as a player-coach. He remained a virtual ever-present for them, playing his last game for them in a Scottish Cup match against Hearts in February 1995. On March the 22nd, 1995, Davie Cooper was taking part in the recording of the Scottish television football coaching series entitled Shoot, which involved training drills and coaching advice for young footballers from well-known Scottish football figures. The episode involved former Celtic player Charlie Nicholas and former Celtic and Aberdeen assistant manager Tommy Craig alongside Cooper. Tragically, during filming, Cooper collapsed after suffering a sudden and catastrophic brain hemorrhage. He was rushed to hospital, but despite the best efforts of the doctors at Glasgow's Southern General Hospital, Davie Cooper died the next day. His passing saw a massive outpouring of grief across Scottish football, and in particular from the Rangers support. Ibrox became a shrine to him, with vast numbers of scarves, flowers, shirts and cards left by people from all across the country. While most were left by Rangers supporters, it was very noticeable that there were also tributes from many fans of many other clubs. This confirmed the level of respect Davie Cooper commanded throughout the football community in Scotland. Tributes were paid by past and present teammates, club managers, the football authorities, and players who had played against him. His funeral in Hamilton 4 days after his death was attended by the Rangers squad and many of his friends and teammates from his career. He was buried in Bent Cemetery in the town. In 1999, a statue of Davie Cooper was unveiled in the Hamilton Palace Sports and Recreation Ground. This fitting tribute to a wonderful footballer remains a popular attraction for visitors to the town. In 2005, Rangers and Motherwell reached the League Cup final. In tribute to their former star player, the match was renamed the Davie Cooper Final, with his face printed on the match tickets. Davie Cooper was inducted into the Hall of Fame of both clubs, and Motherwell renamed their North Stand as the Davie Cooper Stand in his honour. His name will forever be remembered as one of the truly great Scottish footballers.
I think everybody, you know, when something happens of that magnitude, you know exactly where you were. And I was actually in Cumbernauld that particular day, and I was seeing a client. I was a sales rep for a timber company, and I was in the canteen talking to one of the buyers, and somebody came in and said Davie Cooper's collapsed at training. And of course my immediate thoughts were, you know, old bugger, he's overdone it at training. He says no, he was coaching kids, you know, at Clyde. And I thought, oh gee, that doesn't sound great. So, you know, yeah, I remember distinctly where I was.
So you're right in saying there's plenty of fantastic, legendary players that have played for Rangers. Davie Cooper sits right alongside them. I'm not going to say he sits at the top, because I don't think there's anyone you can say without doubt sits at the top of it. But as far as natural ability was concerned, as far as entertaining supporters are concerned, as far as moments of brilliance was concerned, plus the fact it was 12 years, good times and bad times, that Rangers career as a whole, 13 trophies, all that stuff in it, he sits right up there. There was a reason why the fans put him in the greatest ever Rangers 11, for example.
For you personally, of all the Rangers players you've known and studied, where does Davie Cooper rank for you?
If anyone asks me the most naturally skillful and gifted Rangers footballer of my lifetime, without doubt the answer to that is Davie Cooper. And not just the most naturally gifted Rangers player of all time, the most naturally gifted Scottish footballer I've ever seen.
Well, for me, and it's personally, he's up there. He's my favourite player. I wanted to be a Davie Cooper. I idolised him. I watched him. I get the opportunity to play with him, your idol, and he was incredible. And sometimes people say when you meet your hero, your idol, they kind of let you down. Davie Cooper did not let me down one bit. I was lucky enough to socialise with him as well. A wee Thursday afternoon after we trained, we used to go back to Hamilton. Coop would go and put his coupon on. We'd get together in a wee place called the News. We'd have a couple of wee shandies, and but it was just being in his company was absolutely magic. And being a Hamilton boy myself, you know, so it's a real thrill. But where he stands in the game for me, and I'm talking about guys like the Graeme Sounnesses, guys that have been here that have played against the Paul Gascoignes, my brother Barry Ferguson. For me, there's only one Davie Cooper, and he's the top of the tree for me.
The names of great Rangers players live on forever, like in this Hall of Fame board behind us. In years to come, eventually there will be no one who saw Davie Cooper play. But just like Alan Morton, Sandy Jardine, Willie Waddle, and all the rest of the names here who are no longer with us, Davie Cooper's name will live on forever. He played for the club he loved. We will always love him too.